Hello there, welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock music. So today we're doing our series again, My Strange Fascination. This will be episode 5, and it's going to feature this guy, Phil Collins, one of the great vocalists of his time, one of the great pop stars of the 1980s. Okay, so Phil Collins. My fascination with Phil Collins began when I was just getting into Genesis. When I first got into Genesis, Phil Collins was already the singer of Genesis. On Duke was the album that I listened to first. I thought, this guy's got a tremendous voice. Music was a little poppy for me, but it wasn't bad. And then somebody told me that he wasn't the original singer for Genesis, that Peter Gabriel was. I thought, Peter Gabriel? I didn't even know who that was. So then, shortly around the same period of time, somebody played me the Gabriel 3 album. And I thought to myself, wow, this guy's really good. And so there began my fascination with Phil Collins, because here he was singing frontman for one of the great rock bands in history. And almost immediately there was this unwritten competition, not between Phil and Peter. I don't think there was ever a competition between those two, but there was a competition in fans' eyes between which one was better. To me, it's a silly competition because they're both different. Yeah, it's kind of odd that they both were in the same musical range and they kind of had a similar sound, which made it good for Genesis because Phil Collins jumped right in and they didn't skip a beat. But I don't really think they're musically too much alike. Peter Gabriel is much more different. He likes a lot of really different sounds and stuff like that. He's more of a he's more of a production video type guy than he is a musician, I think, where Phil Collins is pure musician and reluctant to be a vocalist. You know, I think he was originally reluctant. He wanted to play drums. So, just brief history about Phil Collins is that he started out, his mother actually was the producer, and this is just what I've been told. I haven't seen this anywhere, but I was told this a long time ago. That, is there something on my hand? Yeah, that's weird. I wonder what that is. I have no idea what that is. It might have came from the yogurt I ate earlier. Anyways, Phil Collins was his mother was the producer of the TV show HR Puffin Stuff and the Banana Splits. Weird, eh? So anyway, so Phil had kind of a musical in-ground, like he had some connections. And when Genesis came looking for a drummer, Phil Collins was the guy they ended up with. And they didn't know at the time that it was a critical move in their history. But they got Phil Collins, and he played drums on all of the stuff right up until Peter Gabriel left in 1974. And then they looked around for another vocalist, tried various people, and they ended up giving the job to Phil. I think they kind of pushed him into it a bit. Anyways, their first album out of the gate, which was this one, was and still is my favorite Genesis album, despite Peter Gabriel era. For me, Genesis was Phil Collins. Peter Gabriel, it was, in my mind, was the kind of the intruder in that, even though he was there first. But anyways, so this kind of competition went on between people about who was better, and I never really understood it. I was always in the Peter Gabriel camp because I'm a huge Peter Gabriel fan, but Phil Collins is no second fiddle to anybody. So then he started his own he started his own solo career, producing album after album of pictures of him. The other ones are on that thing. I just chose 2 of them. So I had this fascination with him, but then my daughter also developed the same fascination. She was getting into music when she was younger, and this was one of the first people she liked, and she liked to sing his songs. And she even said this at a competition that she was in when she was about 8 or 9, and they asked her who was her big influence. And she said Phil Collins is the one that got her started. And I didn't know that, but that's the connection I have with him is because of my daughter. So anyways, and then this continued. Like, he had a great career in the 80s, and and I'm not one of these people that, some people say his music's too poppy, or the people who like his poppy stuff don't know anything about Genesis. So, but I knew about both, but I like his voice, and I liked it anyways. In the 90s, his voice got a little bit strange, and I didn't really like it too much, but then I didn't really like the music of that period too much either. He did some Disney stuff too, so he's been through the whole boot camp, and and then of course we forget too that he also played in a jazz fusion band called Brand X, because he liked the drum. He was the drummer of that band, fantastic drummer as well. Phil Collins is one of the best drummers, I think. So anyways, that's my strange fascination with Phil Collins and my kind of history with him, and the reason I'm tied to him, and all that. Every time I hear that song, Turn It On Again from Genesis, it takes me right back to working as a busboy in that dining room at Greenwood Raceway in Toronto decades ago. That song was always playing when I first started there. So Phil Collins was among the very first people that I really kind of knew was a pop star, and maybe the best pop star of the 1980s. One of them anyways. So at any rate, I hope you enjoyed this episode on Phil Collins, my strange fascination. If you did, please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. And we'll be back with another episode tomorrow morning. So have a good day. Bye.